Hi everyone, I am Desiree KG Magpantay and I will be discussing employee benefits, recognition, and measurement. First, let us define employee benefits. Employee benefits, these are all forms of consideration given by an entity in exchange for the services rendered by an employee or for the termination of unemployment. So, sinasabi na sa employee benefit daw yung ibinibigay ng isang kumpanya sa kanyang mga empleyado bilang kapalit sa pagtatrabaho sa kanilang kumpanya. Bukod dito, maaari ding maibigay si employee benefit kapag natapos na ni employee ang kanyang pagtatrabaho dun sa nasabing kumpanya. Yung discussion tungkol sa termination, if didiscuss natin siya sa mga susunod na slides. Under daw ni employee benefits, may iba't ibang kind. Ang una dito ay si short-term employee benefits, padalawa ay si post-employment benefits, at si other long-term employee benefits, at ang huli ay ang termination benefits. Let us discuss the classification of employee benefits. First, we have the short-term employee benefits. These are the employee benefits other than the termination benefits that are expected to be settled fully before 12 months after the end of the annual reporting period in which the employees rendered the related services. From the word itself, short-term, ibig sabihin panandalian o agaran. Dito, ang employees, agaran nilang nakukuha agad yung benefits na ibinibigay ng company. Kasi nga, they are expected to be settled fully before 12 months after the end of the annual reporting period. Here are some of the examples of short-term employee benefits. Examples of short-term employee benefits. First, we have letter A, wages, salaries, and social security contributions. Dito, mapapansin natin kabilang yung salaries. Short-term employee benefit siya kasi agad na ibibigay ito, pwedeng buwanan or pwedeng depende sa napag-usapan sa kontrata ng isang employee. Pero kung mapapansin kasi natin, ang salaries, ito yung pinaka-kilala nating benefit na nakukuha ng mga employee. Letter B, compensated absences. Ito yung paid vacation and sick leave. Letter C, profit sharing and bonuses. And letter D, the non-monetary benefits. The next classification, we have the post-employment benefits. These are the employee benefits payable after the completion of employment, excluding the termination and short-term benefits. So dito kay post-employee benefits, ito daw yung nakukuha nating benefits pag natapos na yung pagtatrabaho natin sa isang entity o company. Some of the examples are the retirement benefits, which are the pensions and lump sum payments, and other post-employment benefits such as post-employment life insurance and medical care. So, under kasi ni post-employment benefit plan, there are actually two plans that are being used. The first one is the defined contribution plan. It is a post-employee benefit plan under which an entity pays a fixed contributions into a separate entity known as fund. It is said to be specific or defined amount of contribution. So, ang kay contribution plan, may fixed contribution na tinatawag o ibinabayad si entity na kung saan ito'y kilala bilang isang fund. Specific or defined amount dito si contribution kasi nga yung pagbabayad ni entity ay may fixed amount na. Pero bakit sinabi na the contribution is definite but the benefit is indefinite? Gaya ng sabi natin kanina, may fixed contribution na. Kaya sinabi dito na definite si contribution. Pero bakit naging indefinite si benefit? Kasi yung benefit naman na nakukuha ng isang employee ay nakadepende sa kung anong nakasulat sa kanyang kontrata. Maaaring ang benefit na makuha niya ay nakadepende din sa posisyon o sa haba ng oras na pinagtrabaho niya dun sa kumpanya. Kaya nasabi na si benefit ay indefinite. Accounting defined contribution plan. It is said to be straightforward and there are no actuarial assumption to measure the contribution and there is no possibility of any actuarial gain or loss. The obligations are measured on an undiscounted basis. So, balikan natin yung salitang straightforward. It is straightforward because the obligation of the entity is determined by the amount contributed for each period. Ibig sabihin, nakabase itong si defined contribution plan dun sa amount na sadyang meron na o naka-assign na. May specific determined amount na, yung fixed contribution na tinatawag natin. Bukod dito, siya daw hindi na kailangan ng assumption para i-measure si contribution. Kaya hindi na din nila kailangan mag-worry in case na magkaroon ng gain or losses si entity. So, gumagamit daw siya ng undiscounted basis. Pero ito may exception dun sa mga hindi natin in-expect na makukumpleto within the 12 months after the end of the period. Accounting procedures naman, kailangan nating tandaan ay tatlong bagay. The first one is that the contribution shall be recognized as expense in the period it is payable. Second, unpaid contribution at the end of the period shall be recognized as an accrued expense. Any excess contribution shall be recognized as prepaid expense is the last one. And to understand this further, we have some illustrations. For the first illustration, an employee is a member of the Faculty of Accounting at a certain university. During the current year, the employee earns 600,000 pesos. The employee is covered by the university's defined contribution plan, which requires the university to contribute the equivalent of 5% of the employee's salary or 30,000 pesos for the current year to a trustee. Assuming yearly contribution, the university shall recognize the contribution as expense at ito po yung magiging entry natin. Debit, employee benefit expense amounting to 30,000 which is yung 5% po ng 600,000 pesos na kinikita niya yearly, and credit cash amounting to 30,000. Having made the defined contribution, the university's obligation is fulfilled and no further entries are necessary for the university. And for illustration 2, we have on January 31, 2021, an entity paid 100,000 pesos contribution to a defined contribution plan in exchange for services performed by employees in December 2020. For the first transaction po, it is said to record the accrual of benefit on December 31, 2020. Magiging debit po natin ay employee benefit expense amounting to 100,000. The next plan under post-employment is the defined benefit plan. It is also a post-employment plan other than the defined contribution plan. It is said that an entity's obligation to provide the agreed benefits to employees. It is specific and definite amount of benefit. Balikan po natin yung obligation ni entity na mag-provide daw ng benefits sa employees niya. Pero kung ano lamang yung napag-usapan ni entity at ni employee na benefit, yun lamang po ang ibibigay ni entity. Sinabi po dito na specific and definite amount of benefit kasi nga po, si employee at si entity po ay may kontrata o may pinag-usapan kung gaano po kadaming benefit o kung ano-ano ang mga benefits na kanyang makukuha kapag po siya ay nagtrabaho sa kumpanya. Pero may sinabi po dito na the benefit is definite but the contribution is indefinite. Naging kabaligtaran naman po siya yung defined contribution plan. Si benefit po dito ay naging definite kasi sinusunod po dito ni entity kung ano po yung napag-usapan nila ni employee. Dahil sinusunod niya po ito, nagiging definite yung benefit na makukuha ni employee. Pero yung contribution niya ay nagiging indefinite kasi yung contribution ay nakabase sa benefit na kanyang makukuha. O kaya naman nakabase sa kung gaano katagal o kung gaano kahaba yung oras at panahon na inilaan niya sa pagtatrabaho niya dun sa kumpanya o sa isang entity. Accounting Defined Benefit Plan. It is said to be complex. Bakit daw po siya naging complex? Because it requires actuarial assumptions to measure the obligation and there is a possibility of any actuarial gains or losses. Furthermore, the obligations are measured on a discounted basis. Balikan po natin yung salitang complex. Naging complex po siya kasi si benefit po dito ay nakadepende sa kung ano po ang napag-usapan ni employee at ng entity. Bukod po dito, nagiging complex siya kasi yung benefit naman na nakukuha ni employee ay maaaring nakadepende sa kanyang posisyon o sa kung gaano katagal na siya nagtatrabaho sa isang kumpanya. And for further knowledge po, let us proceed to the next slide. So, in continuation po, defined benefit plans may be unfunded or they may be wholly or partly funded by contributions by an entity and sometimes its employees into an entity or fund that is legally separate from the reporting entity and from which employees' benefits are paid. The payment of funded benefits when they fall due depends not only on this financial position and the investment performance of the fund, but also on the entity's ability and willingness to make good any shortfall in the fund's assets. Therefore, the entity is in substance underwriting the actuarial and investment risk associated with the plan. Consequently, the expense recognized for a defined benefit plans not necessarily the amount of the contribution due for the period. For the next classification, we have the other long-term employee benefits. In definition, they are called as residual. These are the employee benefits which are not expected to be settled fully within 12 months after the end of annual reporting period in which the employees render the related services. The actuarial gains and losses are recognized immediately and no corridor is applied. Also, all past service costs are recognized immediately. Balikan po natin yung salitang corridor. Corridor or corridor rule means it requires the disclosure of any actuarial gain or losses that exceeds 10% of the greater of the pension benefit obligation or the market value of the plan's assets. Ito daw pong si corridor ay nagre-require ng disclosure kapag po yung gain or losses na naranasan ni entity or ni employee ay nag-exceed dun sa 10% ng pension benefit na meron siya. O kaya naman po, nag-increase or nag-exceed dun sa market value ng asset ni entity. At tinawag din po kasi siyang long term kasi nga po hindi siya kagaya ni short term employee benefits na agarang nakukuha. Si short term po ay katulad ng mga salaries. Kay long term po, ito po yung mga benefits na makukuha mo kapag nakalipas na ang ilang taon. Maaaring kagaya siya ng sa post-employee benefits na mga pension at kung ano-ano pa. Basta ang tatandaan po natin kay long-term employee benefit ay siya po ay hindi agarang benepisyong nakukuha agad ng employees. To understand further, here are some examples of other long-term employee benefits. Letter A, we have long-term paid absences such as long service or sabbatical leave. Letter B, jubilee or other long service benefit. Letter C, long-term disability benefits. And letter D, profit sharing and bonuses. And lastly, the deferred compensation. The last classification of employee benefits is the termination benefits. These are the employee benefits provided in exchange for termination of an employee's employment as a result of either letter A, an entity's decision to terminate an employee's employment before the normal retirement date. Dito po, si entity ang nag-decide na i-terminate na ang kontrata ng isang employee bago pa matapos kung ano po ba yung sadyang retirement date niya. Bukod po dito, yung isa pang rason ay an employee's decision to accept an offer of benefits in exchange for the termination of employment. Dito naman po si employee ang nag-decide na i-terminate yung kanyang kontrata kapalit po nung benefit na i-offer ni entity. Ang tatandaan po natin dito ay entity's decision to terminate at employee's decision to accept an offer. To understand it further, let us proceed to the next slide. To understand further, an entity shall measure the termination benefits on initial recognition and shall measure and recognize subsequent changes in accordance with the nature of the employee benefit, provided that if the termination benefits are an enhancement to post-employee benefits, the entity shall apply the requirements for post-employment benefits. Unang-una po sa lahat, hindi po basta-basta ang pag-determinate ng kontrata ng isang employee. Kailangan po itong pag-aralan at pag-isipan ng mga taong magde-decide, kagaya po ng mismong entity at ng mismong employee. Bukod po dito, yung pong termination benefits po na makukuha ng employee ay hindi din po basta-basta ibinibigay. Kasi po yung benefit na kanilang i-offer ay maaaring pumatakpo kay post-employment benefits. At kung sakali man pong ito'y pumatak kay post-employee benefits, ay siya po ay kailangang sumunod sa requirements ng post-employee benefits. At otherwise, if termination benefits were settled fully before 12 months from reporting date, liabilities should not be discounted. But if termination benefits are not settled fully before 12 months from the reporting date, they should be discounted. Ito pong dalawang to ay kailangan natin i-consider bago po ibigay kay bago po ibigay kay employee yung termination benefit na tinatawag natin. At dito po nagtatapos ang discussion ko about employee benefits, recognition, and its measurement. Thank you!